Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Noon exactly. Just barely into the afternoon. JJ, how the F are you? Jesse Montano, JJ Jerez, Guerrilla Sports Off Ice, talking all things Avs, NHL. Now, how are you doing?
I'm great. I came in full golf attire.
Yeah, you look ready to go play.
Well, this is the week we've been waiting for since it was announced. The BMW Championship this weekend obviously starts with some fun ceremonious things on Wednesday. Then the real tournament gets going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm excited. So I felt like I had to go full golf garb today to celebrate and be in the spirit.
I love it.
You know me, I like to be in the spirit of different holidays and different events and whatnot, right?
Absolutely. Follow your dreams. I love it. My
dreams.
Your dreams of going to the beach. Are you going?
Making it pro golfer? Yeah, I'm going to be there on Saturday.
Nice.
I wish I would have gotten all 4 days, but it's also wedding season. I've got weddings to attend. I've got a kid to take care of. So only Saturday will I be there enjoying it. But
Do you
the
like
weather's
weddings?
supposed to be good.
You a weddings guy?
Yeah, weddings are fun. Weddings are very fun. I mean, at least in my circle of friends, just because they're fun people. So getting everybody together, because it's so few and far between the times we get to bring everybody together, right? So yeah,
weddings
wild.
I feel like are so hit and miss. In like a friend's wedding, love it. All about it.
Right.
My second cousin's wedding, I'm like,
Yeah,
not the group of people I wanted to bring together.
100%. I'm with that. Yeah, it
So-
has to be a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
And that's all I've really experienced in the last 5-6 years of my life. I don't have that many cousins. I'm one of the older kids of my family.
See, I've got a ton of cousins, and I've been to almost none of their weddings.
Yeah,
Like-
that sounds terrible. I'm not trying to get hammered with
Right.
my relatives.
Well, and it's like, yeah, I'm not going to go treat this like I would a wedding of. If I was going to your wedding, I wouldn't treat that the same as if I was going to my aunt's third wedding. You know what I mean? Like,
Kale McCarr's wedding looked freaking lit.
dude,
It looked really fun.
here in Colorado.
However, I will say the first picture that came out, which apparently was just like pre-wedding events, right? Where EJ was there. You saw Cogliano, Logan O'Connor, and they were all dressed up as cowboys.
Darren Daddy Helm was also in the photo.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I mentioned to someone how pissed off I would be if my friends made me dress like that for one of their weddings.
Oh, dude,
Full cowboy outfit.
I'm not fun in those types of situations.
No.
Because I'm just like, oh, come on, put it on the jean jacket, the bolo tie, the cowboy hat. I'm like,
No,
I'm good.
agreed. And then we also saw Ryan Johansen's wedding this weekend.
Well, I want to have fun. I want to participate in everything, but I don't need to dress like that.
Well, right. 100%.
Yeah. We're going to come back to Ryan Johansen because
We will, but the wedding thing is what I wanted to touch on first, because I found it a little bit interesting. You know, we spent so much time talking about the Val Nichushkin interviews in Russian YouTube. We didn't really touch much on the Yakov Trenin, or, there were several others. But in the Yakov Trenin interview, he kind of mentioned how the Avalanche are a little bit cliquey.
Mhm.
And here you kind of saw a little bit of a divide, right? You saw some guys get invited to Cale Makar's wedding. Then you saw Ross Colton and Miles Wood, even Matt Duchene at Ryan Johansen's wedding. So I'm like, what happened? I wonder, was Ross Colton and Miles Wood not invited to Cale Makar's wedding? Because that'd be sad if so.
So, all right. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but now I think we should get into all this because I think it's interesting. I don't think the Avs have a cliquey culture, but I think you and I saw from early on last season. I don't know if clique is the right word, but there were definitely
Divisions.
It felt like the old guys and the new guys, the cup guys and the guys who got to town after that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, which you can see with the addition of Darren Helm in that picture, right? It's like, well, he's not even your teammate anymore.
Here Johnson.
Yeah. Spot on.
And Bowen Byram was at Cale Makar's wedding. which again, like I'm not like that all makes sense to me. But again, to your point, when you see who was at Ryan Johansen's wedding, and I don't know, I'd be willing to bet every player on the team was invited to Kale's.
I'd hope so. I mean, that seems more Cale Makar, more characteristic of him.
I don't know. Maybe there was even like a conversation like some of us should probably go to Ryan's wedding.
No, I think you're kind of right about the new guys versus the guys you won the cup with.
Oh yeah. Let's circle back to that. I definitely think that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you even remember at the beginning of the year, there was Jared Bednar talked about it. And then the infamous Devon Taves quote, there's guys who think they're playing well and I think they're kidding themselves. And it was pretty easy to take a step back and look at who he was likely talking about at that. I think Ross Colton and Miles Wood really turned things around, at that point of the season. And I think by the end of the year, they were very much a part of what was happening and bought into the culture and the systems and all that. But I think early on, I genuinely believe that comment from Devon Taves was directly pointed at Ryan Johansen, who had almost 10 goals but was not playing well, Ross Colton, who was producing but not playing well, and Miles Wood, who seemed like he was getting in trouble every single night on the ice.
Yeah, I think Miles Wood was predictable just because of who he is, right? It was going to take him a second to really get the momentum of the structure and being on the same page of everyone, because he's so bull in the china shop. I'm just going north-south, going after that puck, and I'm going to hit somebody doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that made sense. Ross Colton, I consider him a little more of a mentally strong player.
Okay.
And I guess
higher hockey IQ,
hockey IQ, just more able to grasp things, right? As far as new systems
pretty
and new
insulting
ideas.
to Miles Wood, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
No, I'm just kidding.
he's missing a tooth.
Huh?
I think that
So you're just saying he's
cranial.
Yeah, he's a. How would you say that? So you're saying it's easier for him to buy into systems and playing within a structure?
At least to understand them and get what's expected of him, right?
Okay.
Even if it is kind of next level, which I feel like that's kind of what Jared Bednar and the Avalanche do.
So I'll say I feel like maybe Miles Wood has played a very specific brand of hockey his entire
was the word I was
career.
looking for, sorry.
Cerebral? Okay.
Yeah.
What did you say? Cranial? I think Miles Wood has played a very specific, north-south, bang bodies, get below the goal line, and just kind of create chaos. I think that's kind of been that's likely been his brand. That's likely what he's been kind of coached to his entire career. And so I can understand what you're saying of like, that felt more of like we need to break the habit more so than teach him the systems.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been there. I've not to toot my own horn, but I won a state championship my senior year of high school, and the group of guys are forever like my closest friends, and I hang out with a lot of them still to this day. It's very much a brotherhood bond that brings you together, winning a championship where, maybe guys that I'm playing men's league with now, I get along with them, sure, and we're cool, but I'm not necessarily going to invite them to my wedding, right? I think winning that championship definitely gives another echelon of friendship.
Yeah. High school hockey championships are notoriously the same as winning a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Very,
no, the having guys from the Cup team be part of it, like that's not surprising at all to me. It was my first thought when I saw the Ryan Johansen wedding was I did kind of start flipping through some of the pictures to see if anybody was there. And
a who's who.
And again, it's also really not, I don't know where Ryan Johansen's was, but I imagine that you kind of had to pick to be at one or the other. You know?
Yeah. Looked fun either way, though. I think both parties looked to have had a good time, and I wish I could have been at one of them just to have a good time as well. I'm a little short on good times lately, having a kid and whatnot. So I'm extra excited for this week. I'm almost treating it like I'm on vacation this week. I've got a wedding to go to, and then the wedding's on Thursday. There's a party on Friday, then the BMW championship on Saturday. I'm just kind of like, don't call me. I won't be answering.
Wait, what day's the wedding?
Thursday.
And what's Friday?
Like a party for it. It's like There's going to be the wedding, then a ceremony, and then the party on Friday.
Interesting.
I think a lot of times, especially weddings where people have to travel, those are flipped, right? Like the party's on the night before the wedding, and then
the party's usually the night of the wedding. There's
No.
like a rehearsal dinner.
Right.
Are you in the wedding?
No.
All right. Well, you wouldn't be going to that anyways. Then.
Right.
So you usually do the ceremony and then immediately a party right after.
Which there will be. And then there's going to be a party the next day. Like I said, fun group of guys, fun fun people. They're trying to throw extra parties in there if they can.
I love it. Okay. I wasn't understanding at first. I was like, they're splitting. I would be furious if you made me split a wedding up into 2 days.
Yeah, that would be weird to go to the wedding and just go home without any ceremony after it, right? But no, that's not the case. But Friday, I'm going to be hurting. So I don't know. We'll see if I can even come in on Friday.
Oh, good. Breaking news. You guys are learning this at the exact same time that I am. Okay, let's I want to end with Ryan Johansen because I think that's a big story, and I think there's a lot of
certainly
things that go along with that. But let's start with the other bit of breaking news from this morning. Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway, our St. Louis Blues, the Edmonton Oilers, decided not to match the offer sheets that the Blues had offered both Holloway and Broberg. It looked like there was a lot of conversation that Edmonton was maybe going to match one, but not the other. I went through it on my show yesterday. Puckpedia kind of laid out, there's 4 scenarios here, ranging from they don't match either to they match both. And it was basically saying the only way Edmonton is both cap compliant and not skating shorthanded, with 19 players, is to match neither. Like they laid out 4 different scenarios of matching one, matching the other, matching neither, matching both. And in every scenario other than matching neither, it was either trades sending 4 real NHL players through waivers that would have been claimed, or, at best you're burying them in the minors and they're, NHL players. And the best case scenario with matching, any amount of offers was that the Oilers would have to skate with 19 players every single night. I don't remember the last time we've seen a team in this situation where they were so up against it that they physically couldn't match the deals.
Yeah, I think there had to be a lot of honest conversation there within the Edmonton Oilers. All right, are these guys worth this much money, right? And that's kind of the conversation you have right now. I hope the camera gets switched over to me at some point. Now St. Louis sitting there being like, well, shoot, we got both of them, and now we're kind of overpaying both of them a little bit, right?
Totally.
Edmonton's kind of sitting there like, we wanted to keep these guys, but we don't feel like they're worth matching that offer sheet. So good luck in St. Louis. We'll see you sometime during the season. So I think there's a little bit of give and take on both sides of it. I think Edmonton's probably happy with the way things worked out and the outcome that they ended up with. But at the end of the day,
are they though?
I mean,
do you think so? I mean,
are those players really the impact players that you'd be like, I can't believe we lost those guys if you're the Edmonton Oilers? Or are those guys that are like, okay, those are depth of the lineup. Yeah, they maybe had promising futures, but there's no guarantee in that they're replaceable.
I mean, I think Philip Broberg on the back end was solid for a defense that's as thin and as weak as Edmonton's is. I think you're hard pressed to just be letting defensemen walk. I do agree with what you're saying in terms of the offer that Edmonton had on the table. So Broberg signed, I believe it was 4.13 is the AAV for Broberg now in St. Louis. The offer from Edmonton was under $2 million. So I definitely agree with you in the sense of I don't think he's worth what St. Louis is now paying him.
Right.
I'd be willing to bet that neither of those players are worth what they're paying them now. But I also think St. Louis is just kind of in a weird spot. And so I think for them, they're kind of like, whatever. We think these guys make us a little bit better. And for Edmonton, I think the issue at hand here is like the types of players, yeah, on paper are easily replaceable, but there's no money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like those players were players that they were anticipating having in the lineup every night for lesser money deals. Now those players are gone. And as you know, what I ran through yesterday with Puckpedia is like, and there's really not any room to replace them. You kind of got to go with what you've got internally.
Yeah, and I think they found some replacements that, you know, are leftovers, right?
Mhm.
What's kind of teams are willing to part with or teams haven't signed yet. That's kind of what Edmonton gets stuck with. But from the Avalanche standpoint, looking over at St. Louis, do you really feel like they're a better team?
No. Well, I think they're a better team. That's also because I think they were a really bad team. Like, just I don't think they were a bad team. I think they are a bad team. Like, I don't think that's.
I really don't see them being that much better this year.
Oh, no, I agree. Like, I think they're a better team on paper because they added Holloway and Broberg,
Mm-hmm.
just simply in terms of like replacing weaker players in the bottom half of their lineups. But no, like, I don't see the St. Louis Blues like any type of Central Division or Western Conference threat.
Right.
You know,
even a playoff. Like I doubt they even
right.
make the playoffs still.
Right. No. I don't see them as a playoff team. I mean, you know, I don't at all believe in a guy like Jordan Binnington, you know, as a true number one goaltender.
He was good last year. I know we've already had this conversation, but
he was fine though.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was okay.
He was really
best.
their only bright spot at points in the season, and it's not that bright of a spot. I'm not saying Jordan Binnington is the man, but I'm saying he definitely held things together in St. Louis more than they should have been.
Yeah, but he's also that chaotic type of player where he can hold stuff together for a month and then for 6 weeks he's the reason why you're terrible. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he was a 913 goalie last year.
That's good.
Average, totally average.
I think in today's NHL you can borderline that to good.
915 is the average. So he was slightly below average.
All right. Can't argue with that.
And again,
but a 913 on that team?
Yeah. He was an 894 the year before.
I don't know much about, you know, analytics and wins above replacement and whatnot, but I'm sure he's pretty high in that regard.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess my point is like, I don't believe in him in terms of like, he's going to be a difference maker for them in terms of their competitiveness, getting to the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. So do I think they are technically better because they added 2 young players that have upside? Yeah, I think they're technically better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it moves the needle for the Blues. I feel kind of similar about the Oilers. Are they worse? Yeah, I think they're technically worse because those are 2 players that were in your lineup last year that you're anticipating being in your lineup this year that suddenly won't be. But I don't know. Like, I don't think they're like, oh man, the Oilers have no chance now. They lost Dylan Holloway.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find it interesting that this really does seem to be an instance where I imagine the Blues were pretty confident for the last week
that they were going to get both.
And I don't remember the last time that we've seen a team in this tough of a spot
as Edmonton
when it comes to, you know, because we've heard all kinds of rumors in years past. Ooh, a team might, you know, offer sheet this guy. Team might offer sheet this guy. Ooh, the Avs. Ooh, the Lightning. Ooh, the Golden Knights. They're tied up against it. And they all find a way to get done before offer sheets even come in. They figure it out. This was one where the Blues clearly identified, I don't think the Oilers are going to get this done. I don't think they've got the flexibility to figure something out without doing major surgery. And we can get in there ahead of time and get in front of it. And I think the part that's got to sting the most if you're the Oilers is what held you back was the second year on Corey Perry's deal and the Evander Kane deal. Two players that Evander Kane didn't do anything for you in the playoffs. Sure, he was hurt. There's a lot of reports coming out of Edmonton now that he's starting to wear thin in that locker room. Now the production isn't what it necessarily was.
No surprise there.
And Corey Perry, someone who I've openly advocated for the Avs to add in the last couple of years as a depth guy, has shown with remarkable consistency that his biggest asset is losing in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, like, Corey Perry has not gotten a multi-year deal anywhere in a long, long time. And shocking, the Oilers gave him 2 years, and now that almost $2 million deal held them back from being able to retain one of their young up-and-coming defensemen.
Yeah.
This has been why I have talked so much in recent years about why I'm so out on the Oilers. And I know they just went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Yes, it came after being down 3-0. And, oh, by the way, almost being eliminated by the Vancouver Canucks without the heroics of Calvin Pickard coming in straight from the American League to save them in net. But it has been nothing but horrible roster decision after horrible roster decision, all bailed out under the veil of, well, Connor McDavid he'll score enough that we'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they can kind of push everything aside and focus on the Leon Draisaitl deal, if that even happens, if that's even something they can work out.
Who also, look, I don't think this means that you need to not re-sign him. I also don't think this takes away from how good he is, but like, he was a ghost in the finals.
Well, and if you're Leon Draisaitl, aren't you sitting there like, what's the future of this team hold? Like, are we ever going to get better? Is this the ceiling of this team? Because it's not good enough.
And he's only going to take up more of the cap.
Right. So if he's taking up more of the cap, they're already in a financial pickle. How are they going to get better? Or is it just going to constantly forever be Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have to carry all of the weight?
I mean, the way that they have constructed themselves, I really like Victor Arvidsson there. I think that's a nice addition. I think Jeff Skinner is going to be a sneaky good add there. But I think you're going to quickly run into, and you're already running into it with the loss of Dylan Holloway, you're already running back into the wall of, fuck, are we just too top heavy? Because there's just not, again, this entire conversation is based around there's not enough money to go around with the way that the Oilers have built that roster. And you know, again, I expect that Leon Draisaitl will stay there. They're going to throw some crazy dollar figure at him, make him the highest paid player in the league. So I imagine he stays there. But Connor McDavid said a few years ago when they missed the playoffs, or maybe it was when they got eliminated in the bubble, he said, we have 6 years to figure this out. And that was till the end of his contract. And everyone kind of took that as a shot, like, figure it out or I'm out of here. I'm going to win in the NHL. If whether it's here or not, I'm going to win. And they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, you know, I don't know how they look at that internally, but I think there has to be the realistic conversation, because this is always the fear of getting to the finals. Is it so hard to get there? Can we get back?
Yeah.
Because the other thing, look, I talked to almost anybody in hockey media. There is no team that had an easier path in the playoffs than the Oilers.
Right. It's a little bit fraudulent.
Totally. You give them full marks for knocking off Dallas. Full marks for knocking off Dallas. You can try to add your caveats of the Stars were tired. The Stars looked more beat down. Their players didn't play the same that they'd. Sure, you can make that argument. I'm not going to. You give them full marks for beating the Stars. But they had as easy of a run to that point as you can get. And I think you have to have that conversation internally if you're the Oilers as well. Are things going to line up that well again? And are we going to have another incredible 3-game run in the finals?
Right. They were this close from getting swept even. So,
right.
Getting to Game 7 was a bit fraudulent itself.
And what did you and I talk about going into that final? I said the Edmonton Oilers and their fans have really rested on the fact that the Oilers have been now 4 years in a row eliminated by the eventual Stanley Cup champion. 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. Eliminated by the eventual Stanley Cup champion, the Avs, the Golden Knights, then the Panthers. And what you and I said going into the final after they lost Game 1, we said, if they lose the next 3 games, you really have to look at yourself at the Oilers and say, are we really that close to contending?
Yeah.
Because we aren't competitive with the teams that are going on to win.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they push it to 7 games. I don't know how that changes the conversation in that front office. You knew that they were making a change at general manager either way because Ken Holland's deal was up. But again, like I just look at where this roster that Stan Bowman has now inherited, and you say like it's in such bad shape. Again, I like Arvidsson. I like Skinner. I think those are good additions that'll be some offensive punch. But it's kind of like Toronto. Yeah, but you're still top heavy. Your defense is still weak, and your goaltending is suspect. You're really banking on the top of your lineup being that much better than everyone else's.
Yeah.
And I just think it's interesting that just a couple months removed from them losing the Stanley Cup, when really what it came down to, Draisaitl and McDavid did not factor into the last 2 games. When push came to shove and Florida was engaged and on their toes, they shut down the offense. It was the classic defense beats offense type thing. And it just doesn't feel like Edmonton's done anything to address that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think the future's too bright there in Edmonton. I feel like that was their peak.
I feel like that was their shot, dude.
I can see Connor McDavid leaving. It's interesting to kind of play in your imagination where he could end up, right? And picturing him in different sweaters.
I almost look at it as, and like this is silly to say, and I know that this is silly to say, but like I almost look at it as like you should have traded Draisaitl, or this year he's got 1 more year. Get some that's the only way I see them being able to. I shouldn't say it's the only way, but like you got Darnell Nurse making more than Cale Makar.
Mm-hmm.
You've got what's his name, Evan Bouchard, also due for a massive raise, a big extension, large upgrade in his deal. Who again I think is kind of a glorified Tyson Barrie, elite on the offensive side, is getting better, but still really struggles in his own end.
Does he have a contract yet?
No, he's like Draisaitl. I believe it's due up after this season. There's just a lot of problems there. And I just like that's one where it's like, you're going to have to do major surgery to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you have McDavid, you've got the secret weapon that's going to keep you competitive. Again, they could come out and go on a crazy run and win the Stanley Cup this year, thanks to the addition of Victor Arvidsson, and we look like idiots. But again, I just think it's interesting that so quickly removed from you got out depth in the Stanley Cup final to, we couldn't afford to keep some of our young depth because we didn't have the money. It just has to be a little bit of cause for concern.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement on that.
Do we need to talk about Patrik Laine? He goes from Columbus to Montreal, stays in the East. Not the player he once was. I made the argument this morning. I don't know if Montreal is the best place for a player looking to like reclaim his career.
Yeah, but I mean, if he was coming to Colorado, wouldn't you be like, oh, hell yeah, right? I think there's still something left in that tank.
Oh, totally. But I see that as like, I think Colorado, a team like Colorado would have been a good fit, a team that puts a lot of emphasis on culture, and in a market that there's media here and there's pressure from the fan base, no doubt, but nothing like the microscope that you're under in a city like Montreal.
Yeah.
It just feels like, for a highly touted like offensive player to try to go rebuild his career under a microscope, that just doesn't feel viable.
I'm with you. It's got to be a little bit of added stress on Laine for sure. And Columbus just continues to take steps backwards, right?
I just don't get it, dude.
They're obviously not going to be competitive, but we'll see what Laine does. I don't know. I still, like I said, I still think there's some left in that tank. So I'm confident that he'll still be productive. Maybe not quite the player he once was.
I mean, I think the reason you take a gamble on Laine is because you think that he can be a productive goal scorer. Again, to your point, can he get back to it? I don't know. But I think that's a player that you want to be trying to put in the best possible position to succeed. And when I saw that this morning, I said, I think that's good for the Montreal, the team. Like, that's clearly added punch to a young emerging group. He'll probably start the season next to Alex Newhook. That'll be good for Alex Newhook to have someone who you don't have to tell to shoot. That was Alex Newhook's problem, always looking to pass. If you got a guy like Laine who's skating around like this 70% of the time, that's going to help. But I do wonder about the environment, the media, the pressure cooker that is French Canadian media. We talked to Jonathan Drouin a lot about the difference. And I think Drouin and Laine are maybe players that you could draw some parallels in terms of how their careers have gone and the expectations versus what they've actually put out there. And I wonder what that's going to be like for Laine, someone who's not French Canadian like Jonathan Drouin was.
Yeah. And there's a lot of temptation in Montreal as well. So we'll see how he handles that and navigates this NHL season. But I like the move. It's obviously something that needed refreshing for Patrik Laine, and that's about it.
I'm with you. I think it's good for him. A couple quick comments here. Then we're going to talk about Ryan Johansen, FU 2006. Now that I know, when and if the Avs get Landy and Nuke back, I do not see a better team than them in the Western Conference. I completely agree. Spoke with some folks this weekend.
I think Dallas is going to be good again. I think Dallas is going to be tough. I think Dallas will probably win the West because of the hiccup at the Avs might go through without Landy and
But
and
you
Val.
think even with Gabe Landeskog and Val Nichushkin, Dallas might be better?
We'll see. It'll be fun to watch.
I'm really interested in Dallas this year because Jamie Benn's a year older. No Joe Pavelski. Is Matt Duchene going to be an 80-point guy again?
Tyler Seguin had a resurgence, I think. I mean, he's always been decent, but I feel like last year he kind of raised it up a notch.
Well, and another year older. Can he continue to build on that?
And Jake Ottinger is another question mark too, right? For a couple of years there, it was like, well, is he ever going to be who we thought he's going to be? And then last year he showed it. Can he keep that going?
And then he's a peaks and valleys type goaltender. Who was a old school goaltender kind of like that? Jonas Hiller was like that, where he was either sick or he was terrible. It doesn't matter. I agree. I was talking with someone over the weekend. He's got some good insight. R.E. Nichushkin. I think the Avs, I think the players, the coaches, I think they're looking for him to be remorseful, to own up to things, and they're willing to move forward. I think they want to see him take ownership, take accountability, be remorseful about what happened, truly remorseful about what happened. And I think they're, you don't really have a choice, right? I think they're willing to try again. And I'm with that. I think if you've got a Val Nichushkin who's bought in, people are bought into him, willing to give him a true shot, one last chance. And I talked about this yesterday. I was also told that they're looking at, this is not what they are expecting, but that the kind of general mindset is like, if we can get 75% of Gabe, we're over the moon, thrilled, ecstatic. Again, I was very clearly told that's not what they're necessarily expecting, but that's just kind of where everyone's at. It's like, if he comes back at 75% of who he was, we're over the moon about it.
Yeah, I think you can have the same conversation about Val Nichushkin, though, right? I don't know if you can fully expect the exact same player.
Yep.
I know a lot of the things he was doing were part of his hockey routine, right? And is part of what he was using to play hockey. So what kind of player is he going to ultimately be, especially from the mental side of it, right? Cerebral, the word of the day.
Cerebral, cranial, right?
Cranial. I think Val Nichushkin's still quite the question mark as well, because even a clean version of Val Nichushkin, you can't guarantee is going to be the same version of Val Nichushkin that we expect.
Well, and he's going to have gone a long time without playing in an NHL game. Great point up there again from FU 2006. No Tanev in Dallas this year, who was an absolute horse for them in that series against the Avs.
Yeah, and you can't sleep on the Predators either. The Predators are going to be a lot better of a team than they have been in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I think Vancouver overachieved last year. I'm expecting a good year out of Vancouver. I'm not expecting a step forward. But yes, Nashville, I do think will be another decent team. But if you know, and that was what I was, telling the person I was talking with this weekend. They were saying that the Avs are, they're waiting to see what happens with Gabe and Val. That's their only option, is to wait and see. And I made the point. I said, well, look, if that happens, you're adding the two best players that any team will add in season. And so,
who are you talking to? Just kidding.
Let's talk about Ryan Johansen.
Okay.
I was talking to Ryan Johansen, actually. No, I wasn't. Ryan Johansen was 3 sheets to the wind at his wedding this weekend. The picture on Matt Duchene's Instagram is hilarious. But Ryan Johansen was placed on unconditional waivers this morning by GM Danny Briere and the Philadelphia Flyers with the purpose of contract termination due to a, quote, material breach. Material breach is a pretty broad term. The Arizona Coyotes used material breach to terminate Alexander Galchenyuk's deal last year after he got caught saying some very unsavory things, absolutely wasted, in the back of a cop car. And then Mike Richards was terminated for material breach by the LA Kings just a few years ago with all the substance abuse stuff in that situation. This sounds like, according to Elliot Friedman, JJ, it sounds like this has to do with the injury that cropped up right after he was acquired by the Philadelphia Flyers last year at the deadline from the Colorado Avalanche. Going through and reading this morning, just kind of the timeline of events. He played a game for the Avs. The next day was
scored a goal. He
scored a goal for the Avs. The next day was traded, I believe, on a game day while we were sitting at morning skate that we were fully expecting him to be a part of. He arrives in Philadelphia. They immediately put him on waivers. He clears. And at the time of being assigned, Ryan Johansen says, actually, I have a hip injury that I don't think I can play through.
Did he say hip?
Hip. Philadelphia Flyers said at the time, they have said this on record, at the time of the trade being made, they were not aware of any type of injury. And based on the dialogue, while they haven't said explicitly the Avs weren't aware of an injury, that's basically what it sounds like. They've implied that. The Flyers have implied that, but have not outright said neither us nor the Avs were aware, but made it sound like basically coming in, no one had any idea Ryan Johansen was about to raise his hand and say, I'm unable to play because of a hip injury. He then saw team doctors for Philly. They confirmed he had an injury. And the timeline that was given was, we're not really sure. He's going to rehab it. We don't know if he'll ever even play again.
Well, as Avs faithful and Avs media, we've seen a lot of Ryan Johansen from last year. Does it surprise you to know that he was hurt?
Does it surprise you?
No, not at all. Because he was not good. He was not Ryan Johansen.
I thought you were going to say, there was one day at the practice facility that I thought was the most damning.
But that was a knee. So the fact that he's bringing up the hip was a complete. And yeah,
I mean, to me, it's lower body. He's just like kind of hobbling.
Right. So I think if you're Ryan Johansen, you're going into last year saying, all right, I am not healthy, but I need to do the best I can to stay in this league and to earn a spot on this team. These guys are paying me money. I'm here to prove myself. Then you get traded and you're in Philadelphia and they're trying to send you to the AHL. I think that's the perfect time to whip out the, I'm injured card. So, I mean, it stinks for the Philadelphia
can't be sent
Flyers.
down if you're injured, just so everyone knows.
The Philadelphia Flyers have just had such a rough go. Poor Danny Briere trying to be the best GM he can. And a lot of factors are making that really tough for him. But I think it all makes sense. Elliot Friedman reported that Ryan Johansen's probably going to fight this a little bit and see what happens. And I can see him winning because it's not that he's faking an injury. It's not that
he was checked by Philadelphia team doctors. They confirmed a hip injury.
And it's not that he wasn't injured in Colorado. He probably was just trying to keep that on the low and trying to do his best to stay relevant and stay on a good team and keep getting decent minutes. So I think both sides make sense, and we'll see how this plays out in the NHL court of law.
Because he would have been paid the same had he been sent down to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. His salary wouldn't have changed, but you're suddenly riding buses. The hotels are not 5-star anymore.
Well, we talked to him. We know what he thought of himself, right? He's a 1C his whole career. He's not suddenly going to go and be an AHLer. So
I think that's a great fucking point, dude. I think it's a great call out because he was very adamant about that all year. I'm a top end player. I've been a first line center my whole career. I'm going to be the best 2C in the league. He had that mentality the whole time. And so suddenly it's like, yeah, go play for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms and maybe we'll call you up. I understand why he didn't want to do that. Said, I'm injured. You're not allowed to send me down.
Yeah. I'll tough out this injury to be a 2C. I'm
right.
not going to tough out this injury to go play in the AHL.
And now it and again, this is the part why I am curious to see how this unfolds, dude, because again, the Danny Briere, the Flyers are on record saying, yeah, our doctors said he's injured, that he can't play. He doesn't know if he can play ever again. Like Ryan Johansen is saying, I don't know if I can still play. What I'm sure that means is I don't know if I can play at an effective level. I don't know if I can play at an NHL level is what I think he's kind of saying. Not, I don't know if I can ever play. This almost feels like the Flyers are going to try to say, we think he's either faking it or he intentionally kept it from us in a way that benefited him or in a way that was detrimental to the team.
I wonder how this will affect future dealings between the Flyers and the Avalanche.
Well, and again, like Danny Briere has strong ties to the Avalanche organization. He was only here for a few years, but I know they think very highly of him. We always see him, Joe Sakic, Chris McFarland chopping it up. He was here last year in the press box and seemed like he was talking with everybody. This seemed to me like a situation that caught everyone pretty off guard. Keep in mind, the Avs paid a first-round pick for them to take him. You know what I mean? Like they paid additional assets to take Ryan Johansen. So it's not like the Avs were like intentionally trying to do them dirty. And to your point, he scored a goal for the Avs the night before. The Avs had every intention of him being in the lineup that night when they traded him. I don't think the Avs anticipated that he was going to do this at all. Now, I wonder if the Avs had tried to send him to the Eagles if he would have pulled something like this.
I'm sure he would have.
But again, I'm just going to be so curious because the two other times in the NHL we've seen the material breach phrase used, it's been, for stuff that has been either legal or substance abuse, clear violation.
It was egregious.
They were egregious. This seems like, what did he do?
Yeah.
Did he lie? Did they figure out the injury was fake and he wasn't injured? He just wasn't good. I don't know, but it's going to be really interesting to see what conclusion they come to with this.
I agree.
How about fucking Jason, in the throwback Forsberg jersey today?
Yep. Throwback vintage. It's so vintage that the R in Forsberg fell off.
Yeah. Forsberg. Then he's got the burgundy J's to go with it.
Yep.
Just dripping back there. Anything else on Ryjo? Good guy. I want to say that. Super nice guy. Always great with us in the room. Always willing to chat. Would stand up with his skates on for us to interview him. And, your boy right here, I was at full Statue of Liberty to get it, so I didn't love that. But
yeah.
Other than that, great guy. Just
tough to watch. Sad ending of a pretty decent career.
For sure.
He had Stanley Cup hopes at this time last year, and now he's got pretty much the opposite. Now he's just got a wife.
And I mean,
the opposite of Stanley Cup. A wife.
I feel for him, man, because
you're married too, and
the guy with a kid. Bought out or I guess not bought out, but sold off at half retained. We think you're so bad we're willing to pay you to play against us. from Nashville last summer, then dumped for nothing by the Avs after being worked down to the fourth line, then being immediately waived and sent down to the American League. Then you say you've got the injury and all stuff, and now he's, it's probably the end of his NHL career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a legal battle to go with it. So that's never fun for anybody.
My guess is that he ends up getting a settlement. He'll probably get paid out for the remainder of what was left on his deal. He'll probably get all or most of his money. But yeah, it's a tough way. I mean, like, dude, that's the part that people don't talk about. And, we've been lucky to get to know Nate Jackson just a little bit over these last few months. Former Denver Bronco, played for 7 years and, wasn't a, a starter every night. In fact, Nate Jackson had to work several years to get some starts in the NFL. And I was actually just talking to him the other day that he had an injury that ended his career. And he said that the toughest part of it was it came during the best play of his career. He had started like 8 games in a row. He had a career high in catches, career high in touchdowns, took a funny hit to the side of the head. He got cut because the injury was going to end the rest of his season, then never got another chance. And it's, you hate to see that type of stuff.
Yep.
Because people don't realize, like, that's the brutalness of sports. I bring up Nate because he looks at it as like the worst part of it was, had I been cut a few years before, I would have been able to say, fine, screw this. I don't need this anyways. But now he was like, I was at the point where I felt like I was working my way towards more relevance, more money, a better contract, starting roles, and one injury and it's all gone. And, you look at Ryan Johansen, like you said, goes from being the guy in Nashville to being traded to a Stanley Cup contender. And within 9 months, he's out of the league.
Yeah.
It's brutal, dude.
Quick fall.
Brutal business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can pull another Ryan Johansen card. Make it 3 weeks in a row.
My money's on Philip Forsberg.
We got the Ryan Johansen Dazzler card last week, right before he gets married. We should have sent that to him for his wedding. We think you're a dazzler.
Yeah, that's what I would want for my wedding. A picture of myself.
We've got the last in our 2023 Series 1 Young Guns pack here from Upper Deck. Last pack that we've got. We'll need to re-up on these. Are we going to keep doing these during the season? Or is this just a summer thing? I think we should keep doing it. I think we should just make a series of just us opening cards. This card that's in the back here is
can't wait to see it.
We'll get to it.
That's a good tease right there.
Starting off with Stanley Cup champion Alexander Barkov.
We have 100 of him. He's the
we?
Yeah.
I don't think we have hardly any Panthers.
We have I think that's probably our third or fourth Barkov.
All right. I guess we could also do a video here at some point of what the binder looks like for those of you that have been following along.
Yeah, I feel like this is where a lot of people are like, all right, I'm done watching this.
Cale Clegg, Montreal Canadiens. Ooh, that looks like a COVID one. Nobody in the seats in the background.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Yes. Patrik Laine was traded for our guy Jordan Harris. Remember we pulled a really sick card for Jordan Harris?
Yeah, all right.
That was kind of fun to see. Be like, oh, I know who that is. I know
exactly who Jordan Harris is. Let's see him pop off. In Columbus. Chris Kreider Selly card. That's a pretty good one. He's always got some good Sellies. Hey, Adam Roska, a Young Guns.
Why were you so excited?
These Young Guns ones are the ones that you want.
Oh, yeah?
Now we just need Adam Roska to do something.
Let's go, Roski.
Figure it out, buddy. Henry Jokiharju. Henry spelled really weird. It always trips me up. Sean Dursey. I feel like there's another one that we've gotten several of. Ooh. Oliver Shillington, whose name I know how to pronounce 100%. Oliver Shillington with the Flames in this card, but current Av. And this is the one. Inmate Kataha.
Oh, no.
Shown here for the Philadelphia Flyers, but actually for the London, Ontario Correctional Facility. Carter Hart.
You think they got leagues?
Dude, geez Louise. That one even feels gross to put in the binder.
All right, I'm opening the metal pack. For those who have watched the last couple, the metal pack always offers good stuff.
Yeah, we still got a couple of those. So still more of those to come.
The third to last one.
I believe you're right.
Stutzla.
All right, I like Tim.
I like it. Show it.
That's a good one.
To Cole Sillinger.
All right. feel like we got a lot of Blue Jackets recently.
Mads Sogard, Ottawa goaltender.
Yep. We had a crazy 3-week long run this last season.
I like this one. Igor Shesterkin.
That's a good one.
It is a good one.
That's a really good
these
one.
These metal ones are just so cool and
Dude,
fun to look
them.
at.
They're so fun. You got these at the draft, didn't you?
Yep. Quinn Hughes.
Oh, a red one too.
It's a Metal Universe Precious Metal Gems.
Looks like the new one of 3 NHL 25 cover athletes for this year.
Dylan Cousins.
Yeah, I guess.
And this one's strange. What year is this from? Carey Price.
22-23. That's probably like the last photo of him ever taken in Montreal Canadiens gear.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing the puck. It looks like he's just messing around during
what
warm-ups.
What did it say on the stats on the back? Did he play in 22? I thought he stopped playing.
5 games played, 21-22. 1 win, 4 losses.
Yeah, so that picture, that's kind of like the opposite of a rookie card. It's like, this is the last card of him ever.
Maybe that'll be worth something someday.
That's kind of cool. Hey, by the way, we did find out, if you were watching last week, the box of vintage O-Pee-Chee cards, JJ's got a few in there that are some good cards.
Yeah.
Worth
the show and tell series.
Yeah. I think Matt added that up a little bit more than the grand you've probably gotten there in cards.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
We were going through those and I was like, I need to get my destructive oils away from these. I feel like you've got some good ones. You know, Wayne Gretzky card in there that he said was worth a lot by itself.
Yep.
That and the Joe Sakic rookie.
Yep.
I'm loving it. We'll keep it going.
Card of the day?
Card of the day. I'll say either the Shesterkin or the Young Guns just out of principle, because I know you're always looking for Young Guns ones, but I don't think Adam Raska is going to do anything.
Yeah.
I say Shesterkin.
Me too.
I do also like the red Quinn Hughes one. That's a good one. I think that's it. We'll be back on Friday. I'll be back on Friday. JJ may not. I'll try to get someone in here, Evan or someone if he's back in town. JJ, I'm super excited, man. You and I met last week with our team here about the start of training camp, rookie tournament in LA, all that stuff. Gorilla's got big plans for this upcoming season. We want to be, your go-to spot for Avalanche coverage, as well as Broncos and Nuggets. Liv Moods, Brandon Cristal, Nate Jackson will be leading all that up. But you and I are really excited about what we've got going for this year, and still a few fun announcements to come in terms of what we're going to be adding to our coverage for this year. And I'm just really looking forward to getting the season started. It's coming up quicker than we realize, man.
Yeah, and last week we were kind of sitting here with very little to talk about, and I feel like that's behind us now, right? The closer we get, the more the news ramps up, and the more we're going to have things to talk about. So I think that's going to be continuing for the next couple of weeks until we're in the thick of it. So, yep, I'm excited as well. I think people are really going to like what Guerrilla Sports has to offer this year.
I do as well. So thank you guys always so much for the support of what all we've done to this point. I know we like to bring this up a lot, but especially this summer, off-season shows. There's a lot of times where we're kind of digging for stuff to talk about. But you guys are always here, and we appreciate it. Whether it's me by myself, you and me with guests, whatever. You guys are always here watching, listening. And I think, like JJ said, you're really going to like what we've got for this year. And tell your friends, tell your family. Guerrilla Sports is where it's at for hockey coverage this year. And every year going forward. I mentioned it yesterday. We do have the magnets, schedule magnets that are on the way. Once we get them here, we'll be letting you guys know how to get your hands on them so that you guys can be up to date with home and away Avs schedule all season long right there on your fridge. So we'll have those for you guys as well. But Jay's back there running the board. I think Jason was sitting with him there. Oh, nope, there's Jay. He left. It's just Jay all by himself. He's the new Connor McGahey.
He's still awake, though.
No one to talk to. Still awake. For Jay, that's JJ Jerez. I'm Jesse Montano. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. We'll talk to you on Friday. Have a great week. Bye.